I know you love earning travel rewards and cash back, and that's why you're going to love Rakuten. With Rakuten, you can earn cash back on everything you need to book your dream trip, hotels, flights, rental cars, experiences, and more, while still booking through your favorite travel sites. And don't worry, cash back can be earned on top of earning the credit card points and the hotel and airline loyalty points that matter most to you, depending on how you make your booking. Plus, with Rakuten, you can also earn cash back on groceries and other purchases like electronics, pet supplies, and more. And the best part, you can join today for free and start earning cash back on top of your travel rewards. Go to Rakuten.com or get the app. That's Rakuten, Rakuten. Rakuten, the most rewarding way to shop.
This episode is brought to you by TaxAct. Don't do your taxes alone. Join TaxAct's National Admin Night. Admin nights are social gatherings for getting through your to-do list. So get ready for a night of fun, finding deductions, and filing taxes with TaxAct, where you can file your federal and state return for just $49 through April 8. Let's get together and get them over with. Visit taxact.com/admin-night for details.
One thing that was interesting to me was it took about 6 months, I think, for the soul-sucking job to wear off. So I think it took months for my mindset to get into the freedom of traveling and stop being so stressed.
That was my guest today, Becca, who shares how she gave up a high-paying corporate job for a life of indefinite travel. She took off with no end date, and she gets into her entire story in a very special episode that was recorded a year and a half apart. This is one of these transition to travel episodes where I do an interview with somebody just when they're about to quit their job and travel. And then we catch up with them much later after they've been on the road for a while and see how things have gone for them and get their best advice and travel tips and strategies for you. So when you're making a transition to travel in your life, you can benefit from hearing these stories and these experiences. And man, there's a ton in this episode today. She talks about why she's pretending she didn't have a lot of money, even though she had saved quite a bit, how she cut back to save a lot of money before her trip, what she would do differently if she could do it again. We touch on solo female travel, the importance of having an emergency fund. Should you or should you not bring a laptop when you're taking off to travel indefinitely? And so much more in this show. It's all happening right now. Let's get into it. Buckle up, strap in. Thanks for being here, and welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friend.
You're listening to the Zero to Travel podcast, where we explore exciting travel-based work, lifestyle, and business opportunities, helping you to achieve your wildest travel dreams. And now your host, world wanderer and travel junkie, Jason Moore.
Hey there, it's Jason with ZeroToTravel.com. Welcome to the show. Thanks for hanging out, letting me bring a little travel into your ears today. This is the show to help you travel the world on your terms to fill your life with as much travel as you desire, no matter what your situation or experience. One of my favorite types of episodes that I do here on the podcast. We got another one coming at you today, Transition to Travel. And if you like these style episodes, you can always search in the feed, Transition to Travel, or on the website, ZeroToTravel.com, and you will find other shows like this. And these are really special because they are recorded over a long period of time, and it's a treat to be able to talk to somebody right when they're in the thick of getting ready to travel, either long-term or take a gap year or do something like Becca was doing, which is traveling indefinitely. She was quitting a high-paying corporate job, giving up that big salary for more freedom. How did that work out for her? What's the reality of that? You know, you get to hear somebody's perspective on how that played out for an individual. And then, of course, you know, through these conversations, we can often take a lot away that we can incorporate in our own journeys or in our own lives. And I found a lot of inspiration talking to Becca. And, this is one of the transition to travel episodes that took the longest to get out. So apologies to Becca. This took way too long to get out onto the airwaves here. But we recorded the first interview for this back in September of 2018. And then I followed up with her. You'll hear where she's at in the world when I followed up with her March 2020. And that around that time frame might ring a bell for people because that's just when the pandemic started happening. So that part of the conversation was a little dated in the second part. So I just cut that out. You're not going to hear us talk really too much at all really about the pandemic because it was just happening then. And of course it was fresh in the conversation, but now, it's been going on for a while. So, but everything else in this interview here is intact. I just thought it made sense to kind of take that piece out. So I just wanted to give you a heads up there if you're wondering like, hey, what's she doing? What's going on? This global pandemic, how does that relate and all that stuff? That's how this interview was put together. But I just wanted to get this all into one episode. That's the best thing about these transition to travel episodes is you time travel, basically. You talk to somebody right when they're on the brink of like upending their entire lives and doing something, seemingly crazy maybe to some people on the surface, quitting a high-paying job to go travel and do it indefinitely without a plan. And, what are you feeling in those moments? And what are some of the fears? And do any of those fears come to fruition? Or how do your plans, the plans you might make or some of the ideas you might have before you got on the road actually play out in reality? How did she actually get out there and find work? What did she do to find work to get some supplemental income while she was traveling? Did she have to dip into her emergency fund? How much did she save for her an emergency fund? Was it a struggle to save that money before she was going? How was it to actually walk away from the job and all that stuff? I mean, it's just a ton packed in here, and you just get so many lessons out of these conversations. So I am so excited to finally get this out to you. And I want to say thanks to Becca for her patience, just her transparency. And she was great because she brought a lot of specific numbers to the table in terms of money to talk about that piece. And she seems like she was really on the ball for tracking her budget and expenses and things like that, which is obviously a hugely important thing for travelers. If you're going to go out and travel for a long time, you got to make sure you kind of got that dialed in. You have a little bit of a plan on, how much money you might need and how you're going to manage the money and if you're going to earn money while you go. Okay. Without further ado, I'm going to get into this wonderful 2-part chat with Becca where we do some time traveling. Just to reiterate again, the first part of this conversation was recorded in September 2018. And then we will go into the time capsule and pick up in March of 2020. And you can hear how everything went for Becca, going from a huge salary to a life on the road, an unpredictable life on the road. We'll see how it played out. So please enjoy our chat and stick around on the other side. I got a couple thoughts to share for you about the frugal lifestyle and saving money for travel and pace of life. So stick around for that. See you on the other side. Now, here's my chat with Becca. Okay, so I'm just jumping on a call here with my new friend, Becca Hall, who's looking right back at me on Skype. And this is one of those special transition to travel episodes. If you've heard one before, it's a 2-part thing where we do an interview with somebody before they make the dramatic leap to long-term or full-time travel and what that's all about. And then the after. So we'll talk to you some months down the road. I'm not sure when, Becca. But anyway, welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast. And it's nice to see your smiling face.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thanks for being here. And thanks for the email. And you weren't even asking to come on the show or anything. You were just sharing your story, and these are emails I love to get. If you listen to the show, I'm not going to go through the whole email, but we can talk about it here. But basically, the gist of it is, you said you've been listening to the podcast for a while, and at the time of this email, you're about 2 months out from taking off for a new life
on the road, and I'm so excited is what you said. You did say a lot of nice things about the podcast, so thank you.
Of course.
This is a pretty big deal for you because from what I know about you and what you told me, you've been working in this tech world and you're kind of doing sort of the corporate thing, I guess. So I guess I just want to learn a little bit more about where are you today? Like, how far are you out? Have you quit your job? What are you doing? What's going on?
Well, right now I'm actually sitting at work. I got a conference room in San Francisco, and I'm working at a nonprofit healthcare company. So it's nonprofit, so it's not technically corporate, but it feels really corporate. It feels really bureaucratic, and it's all, I have to wear certain style of clothes and walk the same path to work every day. And it's been hard, but also it's been good in other ways. So I'm really looking forward to my travel, which starts, let's see, a month and a half. And so I haven't quit yet. I haven't told them.
Wow, I hope these are thick walls, Becca, because I mean, this is pretty gutsy, You're just, hey, I'm just going to grab this conference room and do this interview about how I'm going to be leaving you all in a month and a half.
I
Peace
know.
out. I'm glad you put your headphones on.
I got a conference room all the way across from my usual desk, and it's actually my favorite one. It looks out over the bay.
Oh, nice.
And it's a little foggy right now, but there's the Golden Gate Bridge over there.
Oh, boy.
It's really nice.
I miss that city. Well, I mean, those kind of things make it hard to leave, right? I mean, do you enjoy San Francisco? Is that where you grew up, or?
I've been here for 4 years. I really do enjoy it. It's a great city with so much to do. I really like the focus on parks. There's tons of parks, great nightlife, awesome people, great like kind of vibe of all the people around. But you know what kind of drew me in was the bars and the restaurants and the nightlife. And lately I haven't really been doing that as much because I've been more focused on saving and, the transition to travel. So it still appeals in some ways, but at the same time, I'm kind of over it and I'm ready for something new.
Okay, yeah. Well, we're going to get into some saving tips and everything because I know you've been able to save quite a bit of money. The nonprofit that you've been working at, have you been there the whole 4 years you've been in San Francisco?
No. So when I first got to San Francisco, I was lucky to score a internship where I learned how to program in Python. And that was really, really useful, but it was only 5 months. And that was kind of my first taste of the, full-time job, corporate type of thing. That was a startup. But it was a lot. And they wanted me to work overtime all the time. And I was just like, wow, I need to get away from that. So I worked at a hostel and at a camping store and did some like part-time programming. And so I sort of mixed it up with part-time jobs for a few years so I could take time off and travel pretty easily. But then I found this job and I've been here about a year and a half. And I don't know, I'm kind of hitting my limit, but it's been good in certain ways.
Yeah, I mean, and working at a nonprofit, it sounds like I'm sure you guys are doing some good stuff. So that's another layer of something you have to leave behind, I guess. Where did you grow up?
Massachusetts.
Okay. And so just give us the timeline. Then you finished school. Did you do this internship right after school? Is that what happened? And then a series of odd jobs and then this nonprofit thing? Or was there more stuff in there?
So I lived in Western Mass, my whole growing up life and went to college in Amherst, not far from home. And then as soon as I graduated, I did, actually before I graduated, I did study abroad and that was in England. And that's where I sort of got my love of travel. And then when I graduated, I did a 3-week trip around Europe. And then within 2 months after that, I moved out here to San Francisco. And so I've been here 4 years. So the first, I guess, 2.5 years were kind of just making it work with smaller odd jobs and part-time jobs. And then the last year and a half have been at this job.
So it was the study abroad experience that was the thing that kind of opened your eyes to maybe travel being more of a thing that you want to make, like, add into your life, I suppose?
Yeah, honestly, before that, my main, I guess, priority in life was kind of partying a little bit, which sounds really silly, but once I went over to England, I just found, all of Europe and all I don't know, I loved comparing the culture of my school in England, Manchester, University of Manchester, versus my school at home and all the differences. And then when I would travel to different places, just comparing the culture, like how certain areas like Spain have siestas in the middle of the day. And you don't know that until you go over there. Or fruit tastes different and all this kind of stuff. And so all of a sudden my priorities started changing. And now it's definitely travel and, alongside hoping to help people along the way. I haven't quite figured out what it's all going to be, but yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you said you were going to start a blog called offbeatearthtrotter.com. Is that right?
Yep. And I started that almost a year ago, but it's been slow going because I've been working on getting my skills up, my writing skills and all that.
Right on.
But
all that stuff takes time. Okay, so you also mentioned in the email your favorite vacation was 7 weeks backpacking through Hawaii on $20 a day budget, sleeping in tent, hitchhiking around and stuff. I've done some camping in Hawaii and stuff too. It's pretty epic. But yeah, it sounds like you're really into budget travel and that sort of style of travel. So I'm just curious if you want to, this would be the time to share some of the tips that you've learned over some of these years budget traveling.
Totally. Yeah. So my first travel was it was while I was in England and they get a long Easter break. So I traveled around Europe then. And I didn't know anything about really logistics of travel. And so I just kind of piggybacked on my friends' plans and stayed in hostels and stuff like that and spent a lot of money. And then I kind of started doing more budget travel just out of necessity. Once I finished my internship, where I felt like I was rich because I was making $17.50 an hour, which now seems like not that much. But when I stopped, I was still in that sort of spending habit. And that's when I realized, wow, if I keep spending like this, I'm going to have $0. So I tracked my spending on mint.com, which I highly recommend, just so you know how much you're spending. There's probably other websites too, but that's what I use. And just by being more conscious of what I was spending, I ended up saving $1,000 a month, like spending $1,000 less than I had previously. And that's, I think, gotten even lower since. And so I think the best budget travel, I guess, advice that I have is to make budget travel your lifestyle every day. So, when making a purchase, think about it. Is this really what I need? And, could I instead spend this on something that I have to spend on anyway? That's where I frame a lot of my kind of budget mindset is. So a burrito is like $7 and a Uber ride is $7. If I just don't take this Uber, I could get a burrito and that's one meal. So that's kind of how I think about it. But yeah, I think what could help jumpstart the budget mindset is doing either a no spend month, which I haven't done myself, but I think that would really help. So basically, you only spend on necessities for a month. So that includes, rent, gas, whatever, food. But it's not go to a restaurant and get food. It's you're making your own food. You're going to the grocery store. And when you do that, it really kind of shows your needs versus your wants. I sort of did that in Hawaii when I went traveling there. So I was traveling for 7 weeks through Hawaii. And I had just read the book Into the Wild about Alexander Supertramp. Have you read that one?
Yes.
Yeah, it's really inspiring. And he just kind of, some of his decisions aren't great, but he buried all his money and just did it on the super cheap. And so he was hitchhiking around and camping out in Alaska and all sorts of places and having all these adventures, even though he wasn't spending money. So when I went to Hawaii, I was like, I kind of want to do that. So my goal was $17 a day, but if I did $20 a day, that would be $1,000 in total for 50 days. So I ended up making it $19 a day. And how I did that was I tracked everything I spent on my phone. So if I paid $2 for the bus, I put a 2 on my phone. If I, bought I don't know, sandwich for $5, I put a 5 in my phone and then tallied it up at the end, each day. And it evened out to $19. So that's how certain things like buying a beer, it's like I can't justify buying a beer for $6 when my budget for the day is only $20. And so it really showed my needs versus my wants. And there's so many, places you can save money, especially if you're camping. National parks and all that often have free camping if you go into the wilderness. And some of that wilderness is only like half a mile off the road. For example, up north in Redwood National Forest, I got free camping for 5 days on a beautiful beach a half mile from the parking. And, there's just so many options for that kind of stuff.
And there you are in, supposedly one of the most expensive destinations, but these are the things that are possible when you have that mindset. And I love the idea of the no spend month as an experiment. And I think anybody could do that for a month. If you're listening to this and you have, you think too much money is going out and you want to save more for travel, I think that's a great low barrier way to kind of test this out. And then, like you said, pairing that with mint.com or something where you can start really figuring out where your money's going.
We'll get back to the interview in just a moment. I know you love earning travel rewards and cash back, and that's why you're going to love Rakuten. With Rakuten, you can earn cash back on everything you need to book your dream trip, hotels, flights, rental cars, experiences, and more, while still booking through your favorite travel sites. And don't worry, cash back can be earned on top of earning the credit card points and the hotel and airline loyalty points that matter most to you, depending on how you make your booking. Plus, with Rakuten, you can also earn cash back on groceries and other purchases like electronics, pet supplies, and more. And the best part, you can join today for free and start earning cash back on top of your travel rewards. Go to Rakuten.com or get the app. That's Rakuten, Rakuten. Rakuten, the most rewarding way to shop. Now, back to the show.
Having the budget like that, in your experience, how does it enhance the travel experience? And then also, how does it limit it? Because I'm sure it's not always fun, right?
So yeah, it was crazy. Every day was an adventure of some kind, whether it was renting a bike for $10, and spending all day on the bike, or hiking through a national park, or finding people to go on hikes with you. All that stuff is either free or really cheap. And but in terms of how does it enhance the experience, I think about it this way, and I sort of figured this out more recently, but when I'm traveling cheap, I meet other people who are traveling cheap. And who do I want to hang out with while I'm traveling? Do I want to hang out with people who are down to earth, maybe don't have, all that much money, but they're still making it happen and like to go out and go hiking, go camping? Or do I want to hang out with the people who are getting the 5-star hotel rooms and all that kind of stuff? So I think you attract what you are in a way. And so even if I have a lot of money in my bank, if I just pretend I don't and just travel like I'm kind of doing it on the super cheap like I like to, then that's the people I attract. And that's personally who I like to travel with. So that's, when people say you're going to meet the best people staying in hostels, yeah, totally. You're going to meet way more people staying in hostels than if you stay in a hotel.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's
just
good
a
to think
different,
about that kind of thing.
yeah, it just gets you around a different vibe. Like you said, there's maybe it's a little more like-minded in terms of the travel style. I'm definitely not going to say no to a 5-star hotel if I can, treat myself to one or
Sure,
something.
yeah.
But overall, I think the budget travel style is, I don't know, gets you more in touch with, I think, the local culture and things like that.
Definitely.
I'm just wondering how much you brought it up in your own head, or if it just kind of became a natural thing, like, or was it every day, like, okay, I really got to make sure, I know, because you're tracking each number every time you do something, but were you ever just like, oh, this is kind of annoying, like I just want to go have a beer and I can't, or could it just after a while just become this sort of habit of kind of, hey, this is just kind of the style of thing, I want to be in nature, I want to do these things, and I don't even really think about this budget anymore that much?
Definitely, it was on the mind a lot, and I kind of thought of it as a challenge. Like I did have extra money saved up, so I could, spend if I needed to. One thing I do, if I did it again, and I think I will, is I would kind of get an emergency fund that I was okay spending, because say I stayed at a couch surfing host who was being super creepy, and instead of checking out the local hostels, which would be definitely more than $20 a day, uh, I just kind of stuck it out, and I packed my backpack so that it was ready if in case I needed to leave, but I stayed at the house and everything was okay. But I think if I did it again, I would have just like a emergency fund to use in those cases. So maybe set aside $200 in case I need a last minute hostel or something.
Were you traveling by yourself?
Yeah. So it was 7 weeks, and 3 of those weeks I had 3 different friends with me, and then 4 of the weeks I was by myself. And so that couch surfing experience was by myself. But then I had another weird experience with when I was with my aunt. The first week I was there on Maui, where it was also couch surfing again. The host said that we could come by at 11 that night, and we waited till 11, and then he stopped answering. So now it's in the dark. We don't know where we're going to camp. Are we going to camp out on the beach and just not set up a tent? But we ended up hailing a cab, which I usually wouldn't have done via the budget, but we talked her into a decent price and got a ride to a campground. So I think it's good to, even if I'm like challenging myself with a budget, it's good to think about safety first, and then budget second.
I like that tip. And then we're going to talk about your emergency fund, because I wouldn't even call it an emergency fund, but you have a big one. And I do like your approach to this for your upcoming, longer term sort of indefinite travel plans. I can never speak to solo female travel because, well, for obvious reasons. So anytime I get a chance to talk to somebody that has that experience, I always appreciate any advice you have to share. And, I think it's empowering for other women that maybe haven't traveled on their own and are maybe intimidated by it, to hear from other people who have done it. And even some of the scary stories, and how that things how you deal with those types of situations and stuff. So if you want to share any advice on solo female travel, or just, how you handled that couch surfing situation, or just, things that you've learned along the way in your travels so far, that'd be great.
Yeah, well, if you're living in a city, it kind of applies same thing, whether you're traveling or living. Like, I live in San Francisco, and I'm walking down the street by myself at night all the time. And it's the same thing when I'm traveling. I'm, looking over my shoulder and making sure I'm not, like, if someone's following me, which doesn't really even happen, but just being aware of if that is happening. Say I was in New Orleans recently, and I left my friend. I was like, I'm going to go to bed. he said, "Be careful. Do you want me to walk you back?" No, I don't need it. And so I'm walking back and I notice this guy who kind of looks like he's following me. And so I keep my eye on him and he's like, "Hey, don't worry, I'm not following you." And we have a conversation. And then I realized, oh, actually, I'm more safe talking to this guy than if I was walking alone. So one tip you could use in a scenario where you're walking alone is, say you see a couple next to you, either walk near them or ask or start talking to them or ask if you can walk near them. And that sort of puts a little bit of a guard around you, like you're less easy prey. I also did a lot of hitchhiking in Hawaii. And in Hawaii, it's pretty common. So I didn't feel unsafe there. But still, it's like, I get in the car, make sure I know where the door handle is. Always talk to the person in the car first, or get them to talk to you, and don't tell them your destination first so that they, you know where they're going. And you can kind of feel their vibe for a few seconds before you agree to go somewhere. And I didn't really have to turn down rides, and I didn't feel uncomfortable in rides either. But that's Hawaii. And say in the continental US, it's not as common. You don't really see hitchhikers around. So I wouldn't hitchhike by myself.
Have you turned down a ride before anywhere?
I have. I was hitchhiking with the guy, my partner, and this was in Hawaii, and this guy, he could have been totally, well-meaning, but he invited us back to his house to cook dinner for him, and all we wanted was a ride, an hour away. I don't know, he seemed a little bit nervous, and he was mentioning taking us back to his house, and we said, we're actually going the other way, but thank you for stopping. And don't feel bad about doing that. And that's why you don't tell them your destination first, so that you can say you're going the other way.
Another woman I spoke to used to kind of make a joke out of it. I forget how she did. It was another podcast with Jasmine Reese, but she would take a picture of their license plate, and she would kind of joke like, "Oh, my mom makes me do this," and she would like text it to her mom or to somebody so they knew, and she'd kind of make it a joke thing, but people didn't seem to care if they didn't have anything to worry about. So that was
exactly
a good tip too.
That's something for sure.
Okay, so you've been able to save with your super budget lifestyle and kind of saying poo-pooing, we'll say, the San Francisco nightlife and the restaurant scenes and everything, just because I wanted to say poo-pooing. You've saved up $30,000.
Yep.
In the last 2 years, or how long did that take?
I actually was down to $650 right before I started my job. So
Really?
that was in the last year and a half. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And then this has just been, you've been living this frugal lifestyle, like you said, the budget travel lifestyle, just in your regular life.
Yeah. And I'm making quite a bit of money now at my job. So, it's been a lot easier
quite a bit
to
of
save
money?
up.
Are you allowed to share? It's just so people can get an idea.
Yeah, I could share 89,000.
Okay.
So that's
quite good.
I mean, at least for me, that feels like a lot.
Yeah.
But even before, when I was working the part-time jobs, like at the hostel and other, and the part-time programming and all that, I was making $13 an hour at the hostel, $15 an hour at the programming thing, and my tax return was $15,000 for the whole year. Not my tax return, not the return, but when I did my taxes, my total income was $15,000 for the year. And that was the same year that I went to Hawaii and went to Burning Man and traveled all around. And I ended up working about half the year in terms of total months and traveling the other half of the year. And I made that work. So I don't want to discourage people by giving them my income and thinking that they can't do it. But
you've done it both ways.
When you have that mindset, it just happens. And also, I'll speak to privilege because I don't have dependents that I need to, provide for. And I'm able to live in a house that's maybe not the best quality because that's fine with me. And I have roommates and all that. So that definitely opens up more opportunities. And then another thing with privilege is my parents would help me if I needed it. So that's a useful safety net. But with the savings that I've made, that's the safety net now, so.
Yeah. I'm sure you're not going to be looking for your parents' help. The idea is to be doing all this
No.
stuff on your own. So, but like you said, having a safety net like that is nice. But you said in your email, your plans to go to Australia and go on a work and holiday visa for 2 years and pretend you don't have $30,000 saved up and just do your super budget style. And then you're going to try to pick up some work there and just kind of live off of the money you can make as you go. Is that correct?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Was 30,000 like a specific goal, or is that just kind of the number that happened to?
Well, I was just after the first few months of working, figuring out, okay, I can save approximately this much a month on my lifestyle. So I thought I was actually going to get to 20,000, but yeah, I've far surpassed that now. But you know what? It doesn't really matter. It's like I would do it if I had 10,000. I might do it if I had less than that. It's because I'm not planning on using that money. Like if all goes well, I'll still have 30,000 at the end of 3 years of traveling.
Yeah. Is that the plan? 3 years? Is that the
no? I don't. I've been thinking about it, and I don't know if I even have to go back to a regular job again.
Oh, now we're talking.
Maybe. We'll see.
But so this is. I guess the point is this is sort of an indefinite. Because you're younger, you can get the work and holiday visa, right? Because you can get that before you're 30, I believe. In
31, you can be up to 31.
Okay, so you have that thing going for you in terms of where you're going. But it sounds like this is quasi-indefinite thing for you. I like the idea of just kind of treating it like it doesn't exist, the money there, because that's smart. But the bottom line is you're still leaving an $89,000 a year job. And I think a lot of people listening to this, whatever your salary is, it's hard to leave a steady paycheck. Do you have any fears or emotions around the leaving of the sort of the steady paycheck and the job?
I'm not worried about leaving the paycheck because when I took the job, I was planning on it being a temporary thing where my plan actually was just being able to save up a bunch so I can go travel and then go back to work, save up a bunch, go travel again. But since I've been sitting in one place for so long, I've been able to get a good big picture thoughts about my future. And also by listening to your podcast, there's so many ideas of different ways to make the permanent travel life happen. So I wouldn't say I'm scared to leave the steady income because I know I can work, I can get a job doing something if I need to. So if I went traveling, got all my money stolen, I don't know, got my backpack stolen and I had to come home, I would be fine because I could just get a job, I don't know, at the cafe or something. And that would be fine. And I think that's the same thing for most people. But I'm not planning on doing that because, first of all, with the work and holiday visa, I can do that in Australia. I can get a job at a cafe or get a job at a national park. That's what I want to do. And then your episode on seasonal work, that was really good. I think that would be maybe my long-term plan at this time. So after this 3 years of working holiday visas and 2 in Australia, 1 in New Zealand, I could do seasonal jobs. That would have to be in the US to get paid, I think. But I could do work exchange stuff. So I've done that before. For 3 weeks in Hawaii, I worked on a farm in exchange for a place to stay and food. You can do that all over the world. So that's a way to kind of not really spend much of anything and keep traveling. And
it sounds like you were doing a little bit of house sitting before you left as well, right?
Oh, yeah. I just made a profile on Trusted House Sitters. So, yeah, I did one house sit a couple weeks ago just to get a review on my profile.
Sure.
But
I think it's a smart idea to do something like that before you leave, just to see A, if you like it, and B, just to build up a little credibility on one of the platforms,
Yeah, and there's pros and cons to traveling like that. So you have to kind of be at the house every day, not all day, but if you're looking after a dog, you're going to have to take them out a few times a day. So if you're planning on staying somewhere and, being out for the night or being out all day, house sitting might not be the way. But if I'm trying to work on my blog and trying to maybe build up some income, house sitting is kind of perfect for that. And you do that, right, Jason?
I have done it, but pretty limited. I've never done it as like my means of travel for months on end before. So,
yeah.
But I am interested in the idea of that, but that's another topic. I guess it sounds like you're at ease with just this idea that, hey, things are open, but I'm always going to be able to find something and make it work out. But there must be something you're nervous about or worried about when it comes to this new chapter in your life.
Yeah, well, I guess my biggest, it doesn't feel like it's unease at the moment, but I think it maybe deep down it is that I haven't figured out a sense of income on the road. And so I've been kind of dipping my toes in the water with starting my blog, taking a writing class. I've taken a free online photography class. I'm kind of getting into that a little bit. And then, I don't know, just, I've got the programming, but I'm not making income from any of those things. So, and I don't know if I want to travel with my computer or if I want to leave my computer at home or, it's kind of right now I'm in that stage of, what am I going to bring? How am I traveling? Because usually I like being super budget.
At home. Leave your
you think
computer. So? I do. I mean, I guess I'm a little biased because I traveled like that for so long because I'm an older dude, I suppose. And, then the internet wasn't as much of an option really. Or I didn't have a laptop or anything like that. And you could go to internet cafes and things like that. But there's so much value in that experience, at least for me personally. And I think it's going to be pretty rare, the person that travels that way nowadays, because it's just too easy to
You're saying traveling without a computer? So?
Yeah, traveling without a computer.
Yeah, there's definitely pros and cons to both. It would be hard to pass up opportunities with the computer, though, say doing remote, income streams. But I think the bigger problem with Australia is you can't ship stuff over very cheaply and things cost more over there. So I'm going to be my plan in Australia for the first few months is to just travel around, volunteer at festivals, and, backpack around, and computer's not great for that. But then after that, I'm probably going to settle down in maybe Melbourne or somewhere, and, having a computer might be helpful. So I don't know. I'm back and forth.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, I run a whole community called Location Indie that's all about helping people work from anywhere from their laptops. And it's something I got interested in and passionate about later. And I do very much enjoy the work travel lifestyle. I love that I can, go and work from anywhere, and that's so awesome. But I also value my travel experience before that, when I was sort of untethered. And so I see, obviously working with people that are doing this, and many, many people that are doing this location independent thing, whether it's through your own business or, like you said, maybe you're getting gigs on the road and you're just able to work remotely for a company or whatever. Yeah, it's just a different kind of travel experience. That's all. So it comes down to like, what kind of travel experience do you want to have? Do you want to be working in a national park and not like completely disconnected, or do you want to have that, thing to go to and have that creative outlet for the writing or whatever? It's a personal decision, but I'm glad it wasn't one I had to make back in the day, really, or maybe I could have, but I don't know. I'm just glad it played that out that way for me personally, but everybody's got to do their own thing. But those are good things to kind of be thinking about, I think. And the fact that you're considering even leaving it behind, I think is a cool thing.
We'll get back to the interview in just a moment. Now, back to the show.
How do your friends and family kind of feel about this whole plan to just take off and travel? Are they cool with it?
At this point, it doesn't really
just used to
surprise them.
Okay. You got them used to it?
I've definitely got them used to it. My parents definitely used to be a little bit more, I I guess, on edge about my decisions around taking off and doing whatever. But they've seen that I can be successful and I can work a full-time job if I need to, and, make good money and good decisions. So they'd rather I be closer, but I think in terms of the actual traveling, they're happy for me. And my friends definitely sad to see me leaving, but happy for me. And they're like, "Oh, when can I visit?" So
Yeah.
it
Well,
works out for you.
I've found this too, that parents will recalibrate to their new reality, after a while. If you're somebody that's worried about, oh, well, I just want to be me and do these things, and like I know they're going to think it's crazy, but then eventually after you do it for a while, they just kind of understand, okay, this person knows what they're doing. They're saying, or my son or daughter, or whatever the case is, this person. So it kind of evolves in that way. I know that can be there are a lot of fears that can come for different reasons when you go to make a leap like this, where you're leaving a job and you're going to travel indefinitely, which is why I like to do these episodes, to find out what those fears are. That can be one for some people, but it sounds like you've already kind of got them accustomed to the fact that, hey, she's out there hitchhiking, whatever. Or maybe you don't tell them all the stories, Hopefully they don't listen to this pod. They're like, what? Wait a minute. What do you
try
mean?
to pretend they don't know about the hitchhiking and all that.
Well, I'm not really concerned with us doing an interview, say, 10 months from now and you being miserable. But I think you're going to be enjoying your indefinite travels. But it will be interesting to see, where you landed in terms of some of these decisions, with what type of work you were going to find and how it all plays out. And
whether I bring my computer or not.
Computer question and all this stuff. So we're
leave you in
little
suspense.
Yeah, it's cool. We got a little audio snapshot of do some time traveling here. That's what I love about these episodes. So let's connect. I don't know, some months down the road. I think we got to wait till sometime next year. And you just got to ping me back and say, 8 or 10 months or something. And I'll put something on my calendar too, so we make sure we can connect, and let's kind of dig in and see where you are. And you're leaving your job, or you're telling them in about a month it's time from now. Is that
probably
right?
The end of this month,
okay.
Or I guess in a few weeks, maybe like 2 weeks or so.
In a few weeks. So good luck with that. And maybe you can send me a picture like out front the day you quit or something. We can put it next to the other picture of you working with llamas or something somewhere. Who knows?
Yes.
Good luck quitting the job. And then when are you going to leave? Or do you have a plane ticket already?
I have almost all my plane tickets, so I'm going to head out October 20th.
That's about a month and a half from now at the time of this recording.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave from here, go back to Massachusetts, see my friends and family for a few weeks, and then I'm going to go flying into Melbourne I'll get there the November 14th.
And are you by yourself, or are you going with...
Well, actually, I'm going with Marcel, my partner. We don't use labels or anything, so. But so we're both gonna go. We're planning on kind of traveling together a little bit, and then separating, and then coming together to do some travel, and kind of finding our own ways, because there's so much beauty in solo travel, but then coming together and doing things together, because that's so awesome as well.
Well, this is another thing we're going to have to see how it plays out.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
Yep.
Will there be a partner in the future? Won't there be? We don't know. We'll say there's going to be. Hey, you never know where life is going to take you when you're on the road. I'm sending you guys good vibes, though. But I guess you do use one label, and that's partner, right?
Well, that's because it's the kind of least descriptive, and it doesn't bring about some picture that people have in their mind.
Yeah.
So
you guys are kind of keeping this open in the sense of you don't want the relationship to be any type of barrier to the adventures you want to have. Is that kind of the idea?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and we met on the road, so it's kind of just been this on the road friendly relationship. But we've, since being in San Francisco, well, he moved to San Francisco, so we've been here together for like a year and a half almost. So that's been a different, I guess, layer to it, but we're looking forward to getting more into the flowy traveler type of vibe together.
Yeah. I think that's really cool that you guys have had the conversations around, what you want to get out of the travel experience and how you want that to play into how you relate to each
Super
other.
important.
Yeah, I think it is, especially if deep down, or maybe even not so far deep down, that, you want to experience solo travel, or you want to experience, the spontaneity of being able to take off at a moment's notice or go somewhere. And just because the person you're traveling with or in a relationship with is with you, you want to make sure that they're not holding you back if those are things you want to do, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's important to both of us to have our own adventures and then come together. And space is also important because, if you become each other's routine, that kind of maybe kills romance a little bit. So, yeah, it's
keeping the romance alive.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you in some months. Thanks for your time and good luck with everything you got coming up, and safe travels. And we'll talk to you somewhere halfway around the world.
I'm so excited. Thank you, Jason.
All right, see ya.
That was the end of my first interview with Becca back in September of 2018. Now, let's skip ahead, do a little time traveling, and catch up with Becca in March of 2020, a year and a half later. We're back. A year and a half later. 1 year and a half later. Can you believe that we recorded a year and a half ago?
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while. It took a while to get this one back on the books, and it's always good. Like, the longer you wait, it's almost more impactful, because when I get to talk to somebody before they had quit their job to go traveling, it's really interesting to see the twists and turns that life takes based on the decision just to go traveling. So anyway, welcome back to the show, Becca. Like I said, last time we spoke, you were about a month and a half from leaving and quitting your job at the nonprofit, which was like a very well-paying job. And you had saved $30,000. You shared how you did that. So tell us what went down. You quit your job?
Well, I quit my job.
You followed through, first of all, because you're here. So if you didn't follow through, you'd been like, no, I'm still at my job. I'd be like, all right, that's the end of this episode. See ya.
Yeah, all right, bye. No, yeah, I definitely quit my job. That was number one.
Was that hard when it came down to it? Was it hard to give up were you like, oh my gosh, I'm giving this up. This is insane.
Actually, I felt so good after quitting my job. Like, I was actually really surprised at how supportive people were at my job. People who aren't travelers, they were like, yeah, good for you. I wish I had done that when I was your age. And yeah, that helped, I think. But no, I was really ready to get out of there. After that, I went back to the East Coast to visit family for a few weeks. And then I headed off to Australia. I'm still in Australia now, by the way.
Are you?
I am.
Okay. I didn't ask where you were because, well, I never know what's going to happen when people leave like this. I mean, were you planning? Did you think at the time that a year and a half later you'd still be in Australia?
Yeah, I mean, that was the plan. It's never a solid plan, but that was in my outline, because Australia has this working holiday visa. And so that's 2 years. You don't have to do the 2 years back to back, but they actually just added a third year as well, but I'm not going to do that. But yeah, this was the plan, and I've been around. I went to Asia and came back to Australia, and I love it here, really.
Yeah.
It's great.
And what have you been doing there for work?
I spent 4.5 months or so bartending, which was really cool. It was my first time bartending. It's a really good skill to have as a traveler, I think, because everywhere needs bartenders. And the other, I guess, third of my income, it's like, I actually did some calculations today, which I can share. But I made about, this is in Australian dollars, 12,000 at the bar job, and almost 5,000 just from working at music festivals.
Oh,
So
really?
that's kind of
Doing
where
what?
things have all kinds of stuff. Sometimes bartending. I've been working with volunteer coordinating. I was doing harm reduction programs. What else? All
How much is that roughly in US dollars?
Um, so right now the exchange rate is well in the US's favor. So let's see. So I made about 17,000 Australian, which is just over 10,000 US, but the I'm not gonna trade in the Australian dollars until the exchange rate is better. So we will see.
I mean, but it's still a far cry from your salary back at the nonprofit, right? Was that a tough
Oh yeah.
adjustment to kind of working, spending the same amount of hours maybe working, but you're doing something, obviously you're having a different experience and you're traveling, but you're also making a lot less money. I mean, did you ever think about that? Did it bother you? Or was it just like, hey, I'm doing what I want. I'm out in the world and none of this is money related. It's more of just, I'm just curious about your thoughts about that.
Right. Yeah, I guess I didn't frame it in that way. Well, mostly because I'm not working nearly as much as I was when I was making that much money. I worked 4.5 months out of the last 17 months at a bar 4 days a week. And the rest has just been weekends once in a while. So I'm mostly not working. So I think giving up, uh, I don't even know, lots of money income for so much freedom, it just feels so worth it. And the way I frame it is less of what's the income I have coming, more of like I kind of have this cushion to rest on where a lot of the people I'm traveling with, they're like down to their last, I don't know, $100 sometimes. And I don't have to think about life that way. Like I have this cushion, but spending I'm traveling on a budget so that I can keep that cushion,
Yeah. Have you
basically.
dipped into the money that you saved, or have you been just living off of what you've been earning?
Yeah, I've dipped into what I've saved. So in US dollars, I'm about 7,000 under what I was. So I'm still at like, yeah, a good chunk of the original balance. So I could keep going like this for years.
And do you think you will?
Yeah, I think I will. I mean, it's nice to be making money here in Australia. Other places, I don't know how I'll be making money, we'll see.
How has having the extra freedom benefited you? I would say, like emotionally or just in your life.
Being able to think less about where's the next income coming from. Yeah, just having more freedom to move around without thinking about where's the income coming from. And working festivals is just fun. Like I enjoy it. The money's an extra with that. But it is like I wasn't planning on dipping into my savings, so I'd like to get a job, but it's not like I must get a job right now. It's like, all right, let me think about when's the best time to make some money and what kind of job will work well with also having flexibility to do what I want. And yeah, I think just having that cushion has helped with, I don't know, extra freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom in the freedom.
What do you think are some things that you've learned about yourself that you wouldn't have otherwise if you had just remained in your previous sort of routines or situation? And that's hard to say, I know, because you learn things no matter whether you're traveling or not. But I think getting out there and doing different things teaches you. Obviously, if you were back there, you wouldn't have had the bartending in Australia experience, for example, or meeting people from different places in the way that you are. So each experience is unique, but yeah, what are some things you think that you've learned over the last year and a half that maybe you wouldn't have learned if you had just stayed home?
Yeah, well, like you said, the bartending and working festivals was something that I had thought about doing before, but when you're in the US and you have access to full-time jobs and everybody wants you to be working full-time jobs, there's not much room for working festivals where you need, I don't know, a week or two off at a time. So this was just a really good opportunity to actually do that, explore that, and I love the lifestyle. In terms of um, like more abstract things that I've learned, I would say one thing that was interesting to me was it took about 6 months, I think, for the kind of soul sucking job to wear off. So I think it took 6 months for my mindset to get into the freedom of traveling and stop being so stressed and almost I almost had like this dark cloud over me when I was working, and then it stayed for months after. So
Like while you were
just
traveling, or
yeah, while I was
yeah,
traveling.
yeah.
So I think just noticing how my mindset is and how much work or the environment that I'm in can actually affect my vibration that I'm putting out, sort of thing. That was something for sure. And so another big thing that happened is I bought a van and I built it out by myself. So I learned all this mechanical stuff and construction. Like I didn't know any of that before. Now I turned a van into a little house and drive around. I learned how to drive manual and drive on the left side of the road. It's super cool.
Did you just YouTube all that stuff, or were you asking like somebody show you things? How did you figure all that out?
Yeah, YouTube was a big one and Facebook groups. There's lots of Facebook groups for band building. I think the hardest part of YouTube is you see the really nice, expensive builds on there, and you don't really see the budget builds. So it's hard to sort out what are the actual things you need versus the extras. Um, yeah, all kinds of stuff you can learn online. It's crazy.
Yeah, were you living in the van for a while? Was that the point, I guess?
The point was, well, I spent the first 6 months of this trip just backpacking. And I got like some serious travel fatigue.
And this is when you had the dark cloud kind of at the same time, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I would say so. But then, yeah, the travel fatigue came like super strong where I wanted to go hiking, but I couldn't plan it. Like I just couldn't get myself to plan anything. And I just was feeling kind of like I wanted home, but I didn't want to go home. And so the van is a sort of a way to have home on the road. And then also backpacking, I find you're usually kind of going from city to city. And so with the van, you can actually explore what's in between the cities. So that was the idea with the van. But yeah, it's been great. I'm not a huge fan of just road tripping in it because that's what I did. I drove down the whole East Coast. And it was kind of stressful having to drive 3 hours every day or something like that. But taking it to festivals is perfect. I've got a fridge in there and don't have to set up camp. Just like drive in and turn the key off, and I'm there. I'm good. It's great. I
Yeah,
love
that's
it.
cool. I'm pretty impressed that, you're only $7,000 into your savings and you've also bought a van and retrofitted it. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so I calculated how much I spent on the van. So my van, this is in Australian dollars, but my van was like 3,300. And then the van plus the build plus the maintenance and the registration and all that was 7,900, which is about 4,700 US. So sorry, that's a lot of numbers, but
What do you
essentially,
use for keeping your track of your budget? Do you have a tool that you use, or like, well, yeah, are you just using a spreadsheet?
I guess I just kind of look at my bank balance every once in a while. I do have a note on my phone where every time I spend something van related, I just add it to my note. So just like 25 gas,
Got it.
10 site or
So you have
whatever.
you have your own system set up, I guess.
Yeah, I'm definitely not like, I don't budget in the way that other people do. I just think about each time I spend my money with a budget mindset
Yeah.
rather than I don't know, tracking it as much as some people do.
Yeah,
But
for sure. I'm the same way. I'm not like one of those psychos about budgeting, but I'm like sort of generally tracking things, which sometimes for better or
yeah,
worse, right? You know, it's interesting when you said about kind of having the travel fatigue with the backpacking, and now you've done the van thing and you're also working. There's all these different travel styles, and I've found that, I mean, of course, they change over time throughout your life, I think a bit here or there, depending on your mood or what you want at that moment that you're traveling. But I do think it's an important part of the process is like maybe experiencing those modes of travel and understanding what you do or do not like, right? Like the idea of road tripping through Australia sounds pretty awesome, but like you found the reality of having to drive a few hours every day to be kind of not your cup of tea, right? But like you kind of have to do that to find that out, right?
yeah, definitely, definitely. And of course, it's like, yeah, the road tripping is not my favorite style, but there was some really awesome moments in there, and I learned a lot. I learned how to drive my van properly, and yeah, I don't regret it, but I kind of was anticipating doing more road trips in it, and I'm just not.
Yeah. Have you had any outside of it sounds like the dark cloud that you mentioned kind of hanging over you and releasing yourself from the energy of the sort of go mindset from having your job, which I've found too. It takes time to adjust to a different pace of life, you know? I mean, that's the biggest thing. Like the pace of your life totally changes completely. Although on the surface that can sound, well, of course, like, well, yeah, more free time and all this, but like it's also an adjustment as well. Were there other struggles that you've found over the last year and a half that have been hard for you in terms of adjusting to life on the road?
Yeah, one thing is which led to my travel fatigue. The first, I guess, 3 months of that travel was just in Australia. And I was like really focusing on trying to get couch surfs and cheap accommodation. And it turned into take my backpack across the city on a bus like every 2 days. And I realize now how that was so not worth it. And I should have just bought an Airbnb or booked a hostel for a week or two if I was in one place. But no, I was always trying to save a few bucks. And yeah, I think that was an adjustment I had to make. Like, yeah, carrying your backpack around town is just like wastes a whole day really of travel. And then another thing I think is like, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of been used to, like when I was working in San Francisco, I was taking weekend trips, long weekends. And you kind of want to pack that in as much as you can pack in. But when you change to full-time travel, then you gotta schedule in breaks. Like you can't just be go, go, go. And it's sometimes hard not to feel guilty for just taking a break and just sitting in bed all day, or I don't know, like I think it's really important to schedule breaks, just schedule rest and relaxation. Even if maybe it's on a beach, maybe it's just in a room and you don't have to feel guilty about it. I think that was a big one.
Yeah, for sure. I can remember days just being like, today I'm just going to hang out at this hostel and do laundry and read. And that's all I'm going to do. And I'm not going to see anything. And then feeling a little guilty because you're like in a place where you should go see stuff. Should go. Like you could do whatever you want, of course. But you're right. That is essential to maintain. Yeah, you have to kind of listen to yourself along the way. It's just like you do in regular life. The problem is, I think, sometimes in regular life meaning like not a life on the road, at least in my experience, like unless you keep the awareness, like I think like the routines can kind of disguise the ability to like listen to yourself or really tune in as much as when you kind of out on the road and like the scenery is always changing or you're changing locations. I feel like you're more aware of where, like literally physically where you're at in the world. Maybe being aware of that makes you more aware of like where you're at internally. I don't know. I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe I'm just ranting here. I'm not sure.
Oh, I feel like, yeah, I can relate to that because one thing I've been noticing how my mood is changing based on, I don't know, the environment or my schedule or just whatever. And do you know the concept of being like in the flow?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're just kind of like letting things happen and it's just going and it's just good. And I've just been noticing when I'm in the flow and when I get out of the flow and trying to pick up on what's taking me out of the flow and what's bringing me back into it. And I haven't quite figured it out, but yeah, it's this travel lifestyle and not having to be somewhere when somebody says it's time to be there or whatever. It's really allowed me to be in the flow quite a lot, actually. Like a month ago, I think I was at a festival and I was just hanging out with a bunch of new friends and it was amazing. And I was just thinking about how many amazing, awesome days I've been having lately. And even the days when I'm not doing much, just so nice. And I think the last few months have just been the best times of my life, really. It's been so good.
Oh, I'm really happy to hear that. I'm happy for you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I wanted to touch on one other thing that we talked about in the first section. I was asking your opinion on whether I should get a laptop or not.
Oh, yeah. What happened with that?
Yeah. So I wanted to say I was so into the idea of getting the laptop until I spoke to you. And then I was like, wait a second. Maybe I shouldn't. And so I ended up not getting a laptop, and it was such a good decision.
Yes.
Because I was backpacking in the woods and I was at festivals and like, man, the extra weight and the extra worry of having a laptop would have been not worth the possibility of finding a job online. And so I guess it must have been almost a year into traveling when I got this job with the friend whose house I'm staying at now, doing festivals with her, and I needed a laptop. So I bought a laptop here and it was totally fine. It wasn't way more expensive. It was definitely a good decision to wait until I actually needed it. So thank you for that.
Awesome. That's wonderful. Yeah, there's something nice about the laptop-free travel. And is the partner around still? There was the partner question.
Yeah. So he's in California now. So the way the visa works in Australia is you have to do 3 months of work in a specific area in a specific type of job to get the second year. And so he just kind of left it till the last minute until it just didn't happen. So he's back in California. He's doing great. I'm doing great. We just talked today on FaceTime or Skype or whatever. But yeah, we're just kind of like doing our own thing, but have each other across the world. And yeah, it feels really nice. We were traveling together for the first 3 months, like pretty almost like 24/7. It's kind of hard. We didn't want to do that, but you have to actually schedule time to not hang out, kind of to do your own thing in order for it to happen. And so it just wasn't happening. And then we kind of did some solo travel in Asia. He went to Bali and I went to India. And then we met back up in Cairns, which is where I was bartending, until he eventually left Australia. But yeah, so he's still around, but he's just not around.
Yeah, got it. Cool. Thanks for the update on that, and congratulations on the non-laptop decision. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, do you have any other words of wisdom or advice for anybody that's considering doing something along the lines of what you've done?
Yeah, think about how your current job or whatever is making you feel, and you only have one life. And, I think it's a good idea to think about budget spending and, making it happen. And I think also on the road, thinking about even if you have got that cushion, it's nice to have a cushion and pretend that you don't, and then keep the cushion. And then like I can travel based on this year and a half. I can keep this up for another 3 years or something. So just to let people know that it's a possibility. Not for everybody, but like for most of the people in my age group, like my kind of friends, it's possible if you want it.
Yeah. If you prioritize
Yes.
and commit to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And listen to Zero to Travel for ideas.
Thank you. Shameless plug there. That I didn't
No,
plug it
seriously though.
You're sweet. Well, I do hope you come through Europe. I don't know, if you want to keep that cushion, you might not come up to the Scandinavian countries because they're so expensive. But if you do come through here, for sure, let me know. It'd be great to sit down in person and just have another chat. And I appreciate that you were able to follow up and we were able to keep getting in touch and kind of making this thing happen, even though it's a year and a half later. That's kind of a magical thing, right? To like get on a call a year and a half later and be like, hey, what's happened?
Right.
And have that time capsule, I always think is a super cool thing. Something you'll have too, that you can be like, oh, here's this time in my life. This is crazy. Well, be safe down there and take care of yourself. Yeah. Just keep in touch.
You too.
And, let me know if there's anything I can do to help, and that goes for anybody listening as well. So you're part of this community, all, and none of us are alone here. We might be in our individual wherevers in Australia or wherever. That's kind of a nice thing too to think about. So
yeah, well, really awesome talking to you, Jason.
Yeah, thanks, Becca. There you have it. What a show. And Becca's an amazing guest and a really wonderful person. I'm just thankful that she stayed on top of this and we were able to complete this long interview, a year and a half apart, and put it all together for you. So I want to thank her for taking the time to do this two-parter. And I want to thank you, my friend, for sticking around to listen. Again, if you like this style of show, these transition to travel episodes, I've done a handful of them. They're all really incredible in their own unique ways. And you really get a peek into the journey and kind of put it all together, something that's months or in this case over a year apart, and really kind of see that before and after, and how much of an impact travel can have on somebody's life, and we all get to learn from those stories, right? It's a beautiful thing. So if you go to zerototravel.com, you can just search Transition to Travel, or you can search that in the feed of any of the podcast apps or whatever that you have, and you can find other shows like that. So binge away, my friend. A couple thoughts on this show. Becca mentioned kind of living that frugal lifestyle to save up money, and also wanting to travel in that way because, as we discussed, kind of it gets you closer to the culture we feel in many ways. If you're staying in the 5-star hotels all the time or whatever, you can be a little disconnected, or maybe a lot disconnected, I should say. I was just thinking about what's going on in the world now, and it's kind of like what she was kind of describing, to save money and living that frugal lifestyle, is kind of like everybody's way of life right now with this pandemic and everything. We all, or a lot of us, are just kind of home and hanging around. And I think a silver lining in that is that we maybe come to appreciate some of the more mundane activities of our life, right? And maybe, just these short walks and the things that we do during our days. It's not as action-packed as it is when you're traveling around and going to a new country all the time, or going to visit new places and seeing new things all the time. At least for me, it's helped me kind of settle my mind a little bit and be, content with some of the at-home basic activities. And, another advantage to that is, in a way, we're not spending money on concerts and eating out and things like that. At least most of us aren't. And if you are, it's probably not at the level that it was before, just because, things are kind of closing down a lot, and it's not good to get together with a lot of people all the time and things like that. So in a way, this is also an opportunity to save money for future travels. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up. I'm sure maybe you've noticed, I know statistically, people are saving more money than they have in the past, and that's a byproduct of what is going on. So, it's just a reminder that this can go into your travel fund, or some of it can, because cutting back is kind of been forced. But let's use that to our advantage as travelers and take that opportunity to take our frugal lifestyle and maybe the fruits of that, the extra money we might have, and put it towards some future travel. So I just wanted to throw that little potential silver lining out there to keep things upbeat. And also, we talked a little bit about pace of life. I just had a couple thoughts on that, because when Becca said the black cloud kind of followed her from her job, it wasn't that surprising to me in many ways, because I think the perception can be that, you quit your job and then you just go off traveling and everything's hunky-dory right away. But the reality is, your whole pace of life changes if you think about your daily life now, and then if you go out on the road for a year, or if you've done it before, this. And even if you've done it many times, it's still an adjustment every time, right? Because you have to kind of slow down in a way. Maybe you speed up in some ways. Whatever the case is, the pace of life changes. So we have our, sort of rhythms and routines at home. We go out on the road. Those rhythms and routines are just different, and that different pace affects us as people. Whatever, good, bad, indifferent, neutral, I should say. It can be all over the map, but it's just another thing I think to pay attention to tune into in yourself, and kind of another way for a little bit of self-love and self-care, right? Like if we head out on the road, and maybe even if it's just for a weekend road trip, we are disrupting our sort of regular pace of life, and it's sometimes it's easy to get right into that new pace and joyful, and other times maybe not so much. So let's just be easy on ourselves those times when it's maybe not so easy, and we're struggling with the adjustment of the new pace of life, or a different pace of our days. That's okay. Let's just remember that, hey, it's a change, and sometimes it just takes a little bit of time to acclimate. And there are things you can do, of course, if you have an awareness around that, to kind of take care of yourself and maybe make sure that that's not something that's too stressful for you. So anyway, just wanted to throw some thoughts out there. I never know when these types of little audio rants, I maybe call them, or ideas, hit your ears. So I hope that and today's show in general has been enjoyable for you and thought-provoking. Thank you. Thanks for hanging out. Let me reach into the magical quote drawer here. Pull out a little something to send you off with. Before I share this, I should remind you, get on that newsletter list. If you haven't signed up, zerototravel.com. Right when this is done, if you haven't signed up, sign up over there. We can stay in touch. Okay, this quote is from Chung Tzu. It said, "Forget the years, forget distinctions. Leap into the boundless and make it your home." There you go. Have a wonderful day. Smile. Take a chance today. Call up an old friend you haven't spoken to for a while. Do something for yourself. Thanks. Talk soon. Peace and love.
This podcast has been brought to you by zerototravel.com. Ideas and advice to make your travel dreams a reality.